Voice of America correspondent in Delaware. Patsy, good day to you. Good morning to you where you are. This is a hugely important development. Biden suddenly ahead in this state.
Right, that is correct. And just a little correction for you. I am in Washington, D.C., but that's fine. We are all looking at this news that Pennsylvania is now giving a lead to Joe Biden. Obviously, as the other panelists say, this will put him easily past 270, even by the most conservative of counts. Right now, 253 for Biden and then 214 for Donald Trump. I have to say that this is not yet the final count. There's still ongoing votes. There's still another 2% of the votes, I believe, in Pennsylvania. And another state to watch is Georgia, where right now it's about 99% of the vote. And Joe Biden is also leading by a very small margin right now, less than 1,000 votes. And we'll see how the day goes on. But I think in the next couple of hours, at least until the end of the day, it's morning here in Washington, D.C., and at least until the end of the day, we might have a clearer idea of where the two candidates are. I have to say that it doesn't mean that there's absolutely no path for President Trump to victory at this point. He can. It is very unlikely, but it's not done until it's done.
Okay, and any idea, I mean, you talk about 5% of the votes left to count in Pennsylvania. I mean, how long this could take? I mean, obviously still thousands of votes. We understand the difficulty, COVID-19 making life difficult here and, of course, very much in the United States. Any idea of a time frame? Is no one giving any of those just yet?
Well, as I said, I think we'll know a lot more by the end of the day, because by then, you know, most if not 100%, and most of the votes will be counted. There is something about Georgia, the state of Georgia, though, where the military and foreign U.S. citizens abroad votes may make a difference. There's about 9,000 votes. Today, Friday, is the deadline for military folks who are abroad who are sending in their votes by mail-in ballots. Today is the deadline for them. So this could perhaps change a little bit. As we know, military personnel may be slanted or skewed a little bit more towards President Trump. So we should know by the end of the day a clearer picture of where everything is. One thing to also watch is the president's Twitter feed. He has been tweeting, essentially saying the same kind of message that he was saying yesterday, that this election is a fraud. The Democrats are stealing or trying to steal the election, making a number of baseless claims without proving or without giving evidence that vote counting is full of fraud and voter suppression by his opponent.
Patsy, I understand that obviously it's still early to conclude or to call this election, but we can see where things are going. There are reports coming in that the Secret Service is they're increasing their numbers around Wilmington, Delaware, where Joe Biden is. What can you tell us about this?
Well, I think overall the mood of the country is tense, right? I mean, this is a very critical moment. Right after this broadcast, I'm going to be heading to the White House, where I'm normally stationed, just to see the security is being amped up. The White House has been boarded up. There's been like fencing all around the White House for the past couple of days. And it is a very tense situation, particularly because the president has been signaling for weeks to his supporters not to accept the result of the election unless he is declared the winner, because the election is rigged. Again, I have to say that this is a baseless claim. There's been no evidence of massive voter fraud, the same way that the way that the president has suggested. And the other thing to watch is, of course, all these lawsuits that are now being filed by the Trump campaign in a number of key battleground states in terms of vote counting, in terms of ballots. Some of them may go up to the Supreme Court. We shall see. And if that happens, it may delay the final result of the election, no matter what the vote count says. So this is not done. It's going to be a very exciting and fascinating day. But yeah, we'll see when it's final.
And Patsy, I mean, the other issue that's very complex here is traditionally in the last, probably the last 5-6 elections, the sort of moment to watch is when the person who knows that they've lost would often phone the other candidate and concede. Hillary Clinton did that. Remember, very famously, John McCain did that with Barack Obama. It's happened in the past. That is the moment where you know who's won, where it's a cathartic moment in a way for America and sometimes for the world, because that's when you know the election is done. The problem here is that well, let me just say I think it's unlikely that President Trump is going to do that. That means that that moment is probably going to be denied to everyone. This could go on for quite a long time.
You're absolutely right, and that is part of the American political tradition. One person wins, the other person concedes and calls and congratulates and gives a concession speech. That is the moment that when the American people would know that the peaceful transfer of power has happened, and that the peaceful transfer of power is essentially the heart of a democracy, right? And you would remember that a couple of weeks ago, President Trump was asked point blank by a reporter, will you commit to a peaceful transfer of power? And he essentially said, well, no, unless I'm declared the winner. So this is a very tense moment. And as you said, you know, this may be a moment that's denied to Americans for days or even weeks or perhaps even never. And one date to remember if this does go to a post-election litigation is December 8th. That is what we call the safe harbor deadline. That is the date where all these post-election litigations are supposed to be settled, even if it's all the way up to the Supreme Court. So it may end up like the 2000 battle between Al Gore and George W. Bush that was not decided by the Supreme Court until 36 days after the election. I personally am hoping that it doesn't have to go that long because I personally need some sleep right now and would like a little bit of a break. And of course, most Americans are also anxious to have a final result and to have it in a way that is peaceful without any kind of, you know, chaos on the ground, as we've already started to see in some of these facilities that count ballots, where we're starting to see supporters of the President Trump and supporters of Joe Biden kind of clashing a little bit, and the police trying to keep the peace.
I guess one can understand the frustration by the American public, and including yourselves as journalists, because these are quite unprecedented moments. But so just to go back, you say that December 8 is the cutoff date in terms of all these court cases, regardless of where they're happening. So does that then effectively means whether Trump litigates or not in all the states, that by the 6th of January, the legislature will be able to vote for a president?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having some audio trouble understanding your question. But again, at this point, all we can do is just look at the vote results, just wait until all the votes are being counted. There will be litigation. Those litigation will progress the way they're supposed to progress, going from state courts all the way perhaps to the Supreme Court. One thing that we have to remember that right now, the makeup, the ideological makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court, 9 justices, 6 of them are conservative and 3 are liberal. Out of the 6 conservative justices also include Amy Coney Barrett. This is President Trump's latest pick for the Supreme Court justice, she was just, you know, confirmed at the end of September, as you would recall. So President Trump is really hoping that some of this litigation could go up to all the way up to the Supreme Court, where he is hoping that he has a more sympathetic audience out of the 6 conservative judges out of the 9. But of course, we don't know. There's so much up in the air right now. All we can do is focus on the numbers, focus on the process, and then call it when it's all done.
I mean, what's absolutely key to all of this, Patsy, as well as the reaction of other Republicans. It's one thing for the US President Donald Trump to refuse to concede this election, but if other Republicans are saying, no, you can't do that, and we're seeing Mitch McConnell, for example, heading that way on Twitter, I mean, that would be impossible for Trump to sort of resist, wouldn't it?
You're absolutely right. The reactions of Republicans at this point really matter, and we are seeing a lot of voices on Twitter, both on the you know, the 2 camps of the Republicans. One who is basically saying or is signaling that they support the president in some way, insinuating that there is fraud from the Democrats. Again, this is up to this point still baseless. Or those who are saying that the president should stop making these baseless claims. We should let the process play out and stop spreading disinformation. So we do see those 2 kinds of Republicans at this point, both in the House as well as the Senate. And of course, the key Republican to keep an eye on is Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader.
Okay, so we're expecting all sorts of things to happen next. We're expecting all of the vote counting to continue in Pennsylvania. The mood in Washington, D.C., where you are, Patsy, I mean, the capital of the nation. You're going to the White House in a few moments. You're saying it's boarded up. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we don't have in our elections. We see our elections generally as peaceful. Elsewhere on our continent, on Africa, we've seen this. But in the United States, to have, you know, the seat of a president being boarded up in this way, it's unprecedented.
Yeah, so when I speak to voters, when I speak to particularly Biden supporters, they are expressing a kind of embarrassment. They are saying that what's happening now in the U.S. does not reflect the best principles of our democracy. They are concerned about how other people are looking at this and saying, oh my goodness, what a mess the situation is in the U.S. So this is a reality that Americans have to face. As far as the mood right now in front of the White House, as up to last night, when my colleagues were there, it's not an angry mood. People are still just kind of out there expressing support, saying that all votes must be counted. A lot of street art, a lot of just kind of peaceful demonstration type. We will see today, however, if a winner is announced, if Joe Biden does exceed 270 electoral votes, we'll see perhaps there may be a different kind of dynamic going on, particularly if the president continues to be defiant. So we'll see and we'll monitor.
Patsy, really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. I can't imagine how busy you are. Patsy Widakuswara is a Voice of America correspondent live for you today here on Newsfeed in Washington, D.C.